Yesterday, December 7th, 1941. No, yesterday I made this. And a number of other I also made this. Add to shopping cart, $1 million. I was talking with a fellow artist on Instagram. We were broadcasting together and both of us were drawing. And we were drawing doorknobs. And that was fun. We just picked something to draw. Here's one of my doorknob designs. In the Art Nouveau pattern, this was going to be the emergency exit handle for a French metropolitan subway car. So that was that. And then I came up with different ideas for different doorknobs or handles or whatever. And then we started talking about other things, and one of the people that came into the room to watch us draw was this guy's sister, whose name is Robin. So I got out my pen and I said I'd draw her name Fancy, which went something like this. Here's another one of my door handles. This was a double door, and it was inspired by what's her name? Painted flowers and skulls. And was married to Stieglitz. Why can't I remember her name? Anyway, that was a door handle side view of what she might have done. Georgia O'Keeffe, thank you very much. Memory. So anyway, Robin, this guy's sister, came in and her name was Robin, and I said, well, let me draw her name Fancy. So I went something like this, Robin. And my friend Russell Facemeyer, who was drawing on the other side of the world with me, said, I'd like to see you turn that into a bird. He has that sort of a voice which I'm doing a very bad imitation of it, but it's sort of a deadpan voice. What's the name of the actor? Ned Sparks, I think his name is. Well, I tell you, it's a dame, blah, 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 blah. Always ends on a downer. Anyway, he said, I'd like to see you turn that into a bird. And I suppose he was thinking of those calligraphic birds. But so I added a beak and some eyeballs and some eyelashes and then some stuff like fishnet stockings and feathers and bric-a-brac. And there's the name Robin still there. And I don't know if Robin was happy with it. I made the wrong kind of feet. I made duck feet rather than, because I had been drawing earlier the crocoduck with my friend. But so anyway, Robin turned into this. So another Instagram friend saw that, and his name is Rocky, and he said, I want you to do Rocky, make Rocky into a rock. So I thought, okay, I'll do that. So I'm going to do that right now, right here and right now, with you and you and you and you and you. And maybe Rocky will watch this as well. I was going to do it live, but I'm impatient. What is this? Why is this here? Oh, I know what this is. That's the same thing as this. It's the area around my house. And why do I remember. I took all these pieces of paper out of my pocket of a coat I had. And that's why they're on the desk, because they were mixed in with paper I had not yet used. So how do you make Rocky into a rock? You're asking yourself. Well, what kind of rocks are there? Should I use this pen to make my rock? No, I will use this pen to make my rock. Rocky's let's just call him a stud. He's is he a Marine or in the Air Force? He's in the Air Force, United States Air Force. So he's strong and angular and butch. And his husband is actually more angular. So ROCKY. Rocky. No, other than that curve right there, no curve in this drawing. So how do I make this become more rock-like? Where's my light source going to be? I think my light source will be on this side. So here's the sun. Well, I'll draw it outside the page. There's the sun. The shadows will be over here. So let's draw some shadows. It's an outcropping. Here we'll draw a caveman over here. What do cavemen look like? Where's that Darwinian thing where they're holding a club, walking upright? There's his shadow. And he's saying, I wonder how tall that rock is. Oh, he's scratching his head. Here. I wonder how tall that rock is, he's saying. I know. Look at my shadow. I know I'm so many wildebeest heads tall. So I'll just line up the wildebeest heads along the shadow and measure that shadow, and therefore I'll know that the world is round. You see how that works? The flat earthers don't understand how shadows work. There are many smart people online who have YouTube channels, and they end up deciding that they're going to spend all of their brain power and all of their ones and zeros on their YouTube channels to try to debunk people that believe that God exists or people that believe the world is round. And I watch them for a while because I share their beliefs of a round earth and no God. I have that figured out already. I don't need him to explain it to me. And sometimes, their arguments are kind of interesting, and sometimes they are not as interesting. And I was going somewhere with this statement, but I wish the guy that he's this very young British guy who the Cosmic Skeptic is his name. And okay, I've heard you talk about God and the lack thereof for years now. Pick a different topic. I'm going to make a little pebble here. Here's a chip off the old Rocky, and that's the pebble's shadow. The shadow has to be longer, more wildebeest skulls longer. Another one there. Because, it's getting kind of old. He ends up talking to the same old people or the same old arguments, and I wish that he would talk about whether beauty exists, whether there's a thing, an aesthetic. We might say this is beautiful, or we might say it's ugly, but we can go to that argument. It might have the same kinds of is beauty in the eye of the beholder? Or is it something else? Let's talk about something else. Occasionally, these experts, whether they're solving a Sudoku puzzle or they're talking about astronomy or whatever, it's great. I love them, but I know that there's probably a way that they can use their brain cells to talk about something else. Okay, does this look like a rock? It looks like a big iceberg. So how do we make this look more like a rock? We have to sort of have a different sort of facets here. This is sort of I need help here. What do I need to do? See, this is kind of what rocks look like, right? There's shadows, there's shade. This is shade, this is shadow. There's a difference. See, the shade is where the light doesn't hit on that. This isn't shade. This is shade S sub 1, and this is shadow. SHADOW, shadow. We'll end with W. SW and S shade E. SHADE, shade and shadow. So that is shade. Shade. This is in shade, and this is the shadow cast by this thing. So shade and shadow. The shade is not as dark as the shadow usually, because the shade is, the light is not hitting it directly. So this is the shade, sorry. This is the shade. And light is, hitting this particle of Precambrian dirt, and the light is bouncing off back to this face. And therefore, it's illuminating it with light. Light is hitting it, not a strong light, not direct light, but light is bouncing back and hitting this. But the mass of the rock is casting a shadow on the Precambrian dirt. Is that what it was? More shade. Shadow. Shade. Shade. Shadow. Shadow. Shade. Got it? Rocky. I think I need to have like a little crack in my armor here. Shade. That's where these pieces are coming out of. So it looks like this thing was on top of a mountain and it just suddenly plopped down. In fact, it's the reason he's also scratching his head and thinking about this thing. He's asking himself, why? This is before man invented God. So he doesn't, shake his club to the sky and say, why, oh, sun man, Zeus person, whatever his Stone Age deity was called. Why did you throw a rock onto my boyfriend whose hand is here, his other hand is here, holding his club? Shadow. There. He's saying, why? Here, he's just scratching his head. He's not asking why, because he hasn't invented, his descendants have not yet invented God. He's innocent of that fallacy. And he's grieved a little bit. There's a tear. He shed a tear. There's the tear, one tear being shed. And now he's thinking, oh, my shadow is here and that shadow is there. Therefore, the world is round by geometric logic or something. I know that you need a well and you need summer solstice or whatever you need, but I know that there's all that other stuff that you need to have to prove that the world is round. But this guy, he just had that inspiration like Einstein. Why are we making this? This is sedimentary rock with different layers. Is that what sedimentary rock is like? There's another guy I watch called Nick Zentner, and he talks about the geology of the Western Pacific, upper Western Pacific. What's the word? Land. Area. And sometimes I learn things when I talk to him. I'm going to talk to him. I'm never talking to him. I've never talked with him, to him. I have done work for him. I've made little videos for his channel, which he liked. But I like his teaching style. He has a sort of, it's like a preacher. An evangelist sort of telling you the same thing 20 different times, just slightly changing the wording, but then every once in a while repeating what he said. And it's kind of interesting. It helps cause those little brain cells in your head to remember. Well, that's Rocky. Gee, Rocky. Does that look like Rocky to you? It sort of looks like a chunk of iceberg. How else could we do that? How else could we make Rocky look like a rock? Should I do one more? I'm thinking out loud here. I'm actually not thinking out loud. I'm thinking inside my head. There you go, Rocky. Okay, let's see. Can I do another Rocky? Should I try this one using black paper and white? Or gray paper? Or should I just call it a day? Oh, I'll tell you about something else, another plan I have. We have an area in our building where people get rid of things that they're never, ever going to use, and Pierre Gustafson is there to pick them up. And sometimes he will use it, and sometimes he'll forget all about it. So here is Fred, small size cardboard moose head. And I thought, rather than putting the pieces together to make this, I can put the pieces together differently and come up with something else. And then maybe draw on the surfaces to create something much more interesting than a moose head. So let's just see what we can do here. Ooh, this is kind of neat. Look at this. I could make a sundial 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. This is much more interesting a thing than I thought it would be. Look at that. This is way more interesting than a moose head. Maybe I'll just do that. Maybe I'll just create a sculpture. I'm trying not to break the second hands of my sundial. Look at that. Isn't that cool? This is so much more interesting than the moose head. Look at me. I'm having fun. And it's not even 6 o'clock in the morning. You're still asleep. Rocky. You're still in bed, Rocky. Though, truth be told, if I had a cute husband like you, I'd be in bed too. I'd probably never get out of bed. Some people are going to say, your video is not made for children. Okay, whatever. It's time children learn that the facts of life. Dear son or daughter, you wouldn't be in existence if Mommy remembered her pill. But now they can learn. You don't need pills if you're homosexual. Well, this came undone. Look at that. What's that little tiny one right there mean? I bet something goes into that. So far, well, let me just sacrifice this one. So you put this thing together like this. Or you follow the directions, you put it together in a different way. But I thought, wouldn't it be fun? Let's say I drew parts of the body. Let's say this was an arm with fingers down here and an arm here. You know, it could, and then I did that with other things, and I put them together in any sort of wonky way. You know, it could be carnage on a battlefield. Instead of a moose head, it could be an orgy. Wouldn't that be fun? You see how much fun you can have with stuff people throw away? So how do orgies work? Your children are asking you. Well, Daddy used to go to orgies all the time. When Mommy was doing her sewing group, Daddy was off at an orgy. That's why Daddy doesn't live with us anymore. See how easy that is? So you can put, you know, here's one orgy person and here's another orgy person, and you stick that thing in that little hole. That's how orgies work. What do you think? I'm going to have all sorts of fun. Look at the ears. I still had the most fun when I did that the first reveal with all of those fun shadows. But see, this would be a fun thing to try to draw. You know, you just take these pieces at random, you put them like this, and you say, I'm going to draw the shadows and the shade. You know the difference. This is in shade, that's casting a shadow. And I could come up with all sorts of really cool things. I'm hungry. Bye. Write your answers below.